Kids, today we're going to talk about evolution. And we're going to talk about political evolution. And I'm going to use myself as an example. And this is an important conversation because a lot of people, as we get into the political time of the year, every 4 years or every 2 years, depending on how politically active you are or aren't, you will notice that people are posting a lot of things, having discussions, screaming at each other, carrying on, all in the hopes of trying to have some conversation about how we move this country forward, or move this country backwards, or move it sideways, or whatever, however you want to categorize it. So I want to explain my political evolution because I had a breakthrough yesterday. So I really wanted to begin from the beginning, as they say, or as I like to say. When I was younger, I was a very active young Republican. I went to the convention in Chicago for Ronald Reagan for his second term in 1984. It was a very, very proud moment for me. I was very excited about Ronald Reagan. As far as I could see, he didn't help people that he didn't like. But he also didn't hurt them. He didn't go out of his way to hurt people he didn't like or agree with. He just kind of ignored them. And for the most part, he stuck with his vision. I was fine with that. As long as you're not harming anybody, then I'm fine with that. If you go out of your way to hurt somebody, that's a totally different thing. But that was a long time ago. That was in a totally different era. Now, by the time the late 80s rolled around and we began to look at the George Bush era, the Republican Party started to swing harder and harder to the right, and they frankly left me behind. And I switched allegiances to the Democrats. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. First of all, my personal outlook is I am very, very physically conservative, but I'm socially extremely liberal. I have only two morals in my life, and those are consenting adults can do whatever they wish, just leave the children and the animals out of it. Pretty much other than that, you can't really offend me or even affect me in any way, shape, or form. But don't spend money we don't have. It just doesn't make sense to me. I just don't get it. So that's kind of where I stand on things, and that's my baseline. Now, as the Republicans got more conservative on social issues and brought in all these people that got very conservative on social issues, it really turned me off to the point where it was nauseating. And the fact that they were spending money like crazy did not help their case with me at all. So they had nothing to offer me. Zero. And I also learned at a young age to share. Now, they taught me this in preschool. How to share the Play-Doh, how to share the glue, how to share your toys, how to share everything so that everyone can have a good time. And you're not going to be that spoiled brat sitting in the corner pouting all the time, because that's not how life works. Now, maybe a lot of people didn't go to preschool, but I was fortunate enough to go to preschool before I went to kindergarten. So I didn't have to have my tantrums in a larger public venue. I had them in a smaller venue. But I got over it. I also had to share my family with a little brother who I couldn't figure out why they bought him, because I thought I was doing a perfectly good job, but they wanted to buy another one, so they did. And one day they brought it home with a bag of groceries. It was kind of weird. Anyhow, so I progressed. I evolved into this more democratic outlook, but I still wasn't really politically all that active for many years. I did vote, but I didn't go out of my way to really get into policies or wonky things, as they call it these days, because frankly I was busy and I was working. And I had a lot to do. And the last thing I needed to do was I had really no interest. I had other interests going on. Now that I'm retired, I have a lot more time to sit around and think about these things. So there's another evolution for you. But a few years ago, I had become unemployed through no fault of my own, um, in a very traumatic accident. And I was sitting there feeling sorry for myself because there were no jobs in 2007. The economy had already started to crash. And 2008. So finally I thought, wow, what can I do? And I looked around at the field of different people that were running, and I said to myself, gee, I really like this Barack Obama guy. I like his message. I like what he believes. I like what I'm hearing. So without being politically connected at all, I went out on my own because I couldn't find anybody in my county that I could at all contact. People like the Democratic Party didn't even return my calls. That's just how ridiculous it was in 2008. So I just went out and started knocking on doors, unofficially just one resident, knocking on strangers' doors, kind of like a Jehovah's Witness, trying to witness to people for Barack Obama. Now, in a very Republican, very conservative county, that was dangerous, and especially because you're promoting a black man. Imagine. So I had lots of doors slammed in my face. I was cussed out a million times. Somebody pointed a gun at me. Some people threatened to beat me up. It was kind of rough. And finally, I found the Obama campaign and started recruiting people to come with me every day. And I literally did this 7 days a week. I would knock on doors all over the county 7 days a week. And I would take people for like 2 or 3 hours at a time. I'd teach them how to do it. We got finally some literature and stuff, and we knocked on doors. And it was quite exciting, and it was a thrill to see him win. I even took old people and handicapped people to the polls at my expense, just to vote, just so they could have the opportunity to vote. Even if they voted for McCain, which in 3 instances I actually drove somebody to the polls so they could vote for somebody that I was against. So I'm all for voting for everyone. I'm an adult. It's okay. You can vote for whoever you want. Just vote. So that was a huge evolution for me. I got discouraged by the vitriol and the just seemed like the government stopped working after we hired Barack Obama. The Republicans just didn't want to cooperate at all. It was unprecedented in my lifetime. I've never seen something like it. And it was quite unnerving, to tell you the truth. So I evolved again. And I really got into that whole Occupy thing. And I was sad to see it trying to be co-opted by the Democratic Party, because frankly there is a wing of the Democratic Party that just gets under my nails, like worse than the Republicans. And these are these like really shrill, pompous liberals, and they're just shrill and they're very sanctimonious, and they're annoying, frankly. And I find them just as hateful as the Tea Party people. They're just awful. So every party has its awful fringe, and both equally do. They have an awful fringe. Now, I try to avoid the fringe on the left because I truly it makes me quiver. And I try to avoid the fringe on the right, but the right keeps moving farther towards the fringe every week. I don't know how this is happening, but every single week they seem to be getting closer and closer to the edge of the earth, so to speak, and they're back at the flat earth era, looking so far backwards that it doesn't even make sense to me. Now, a couple of years ago, I used to try to talk with people, and I would actually think, like an idiot, I was having a rational conversation with rational people. And it come to find out, I was not aware that there's this whole other parallel universe that these people are living in. And they don't understand anything I'm saying. They don't want to hear anything I'm saying because they live in this whole other world that's has whole other facts and doesn't represent or even look like anything that I experienced in my lifetime. And it's full of fear and doubt and negativity and vitriol. And frankly, at first I was shocked by it. I thought it was actually people making a joke. That's how naive I am. I actually thought these were people that I knew that were actually making a joke. But it turns out that they like this, and now they're even worse. Now, I stopped trying to reason with them. And then I evolved again into this phase where I used to like to just push their buttons and be a total troll and just upset them as much as I possibly could. And I would lash back with the most outrageous, hateful crap that I could think of. And I'm very clever. And I'm a total bitch. So I'm good at this. I got a black belt in being an asshole. And that was my evolution. And I enjoyed that for a long time, but it got tiring. So then I just kind of gave up for a while, so I evolved again, and now it's coming back to political season. And I feel strongly about the way our country's going, and I have my thoughts, my ideas, my morals, my values, my political views. All of that is very important to me, and I like to have my voice heard because that's my right. And I also don't mind listening to any other rational human being discuss their points also. But, for example, this season, I have not been able to find one single conservative, not one that calls himself a conservative, tell me what they want to conserve. It's a very simple question. What are you trying to conserve? Imagine that. I've asked over 100 conservatives, and I have not had a single answer. All I get is talking points and vitriol and name calling and everything else. So you can't reason with that. And finally, this is the new evolution that I wanted to talk about, because finally, yesterday, I had a breakthrough. Somebody posted on Facebook that I know I've been like friends with them for a while on Facebook, but we're really not close. I mean, we're not close at all. But I enjoy their posts. I assume they enjoy my posts because they keep me around. But I comment on one of their posts, and suddenly this right-wing troll came running in to call me names and carry on and everything. And I thought, fine. And I just, wrote the facts and said, you might not like it. I'm sorry if you feel all upset, but this is just the facts. And they kept going on and going on and going on. And then after all the name calling, they decided that they wanted to bless me and pity me. And I thought, you know what? I've reached the end of my time here. I need a new evolution. So if you're having these kind of conversations, this is how I finished this conversation with this individual. And I think it will help a lot of people on both sides of the aisle, or whatever perspective that you might have, to know this. I do not, and I told this person this, do not bless me with your God. I don't understand your God. My God would never, ever have the feelings that you have. So don't bless me with your God. You have no right to pity me because you are not God. And I don't care for your pity. And if I'm making you upset, you've chosen to be upset. You've given me that power. That was your choice. That's not on me. That's on you. And don't cling on to my life because I don't want the negativity. I don't want the negativity of you. I don't want the negativity of your God, of your outlook, of your feelings, or anything. So don't hang on to me. Live your own life. And that's the evolution. Live your own life. Just be a good person. If you're just a good person in your own mind, and not having to run people down all the time or attack people or pity them or pray for them or do whatever for them, and you just live a good life, we would have a lot less problems in the world. And we'd probably get along a lot better. So think about evolution. I know that's a hard concept for people that believe in creationism, but give it a whirl. Just a try. Just an idea. Have a good day.